So we are pretending that none of y'all have ever heard of Ninja. That's how we're going to start this out. Is that good? Because a lot of you have heard of Ninja, and there was an installation here a year and so ago, November of 2022, I believe it was. So a lot of you were in that. A lot of you were not in that. So we are going to start this with an overview of Ninja. And the first thing we're going to talk about is there is a book. There it is. There should be some in the library. There's probably not because they get taken out a lot. So I would highly encourage you to find a book, buy it, and read it, because that is the first step, is to learn about what Ninja selling is.
I'm going to interrupt a little bit to
interrupt
say
away.
that before Ninja, we were what would be called on-accident agents. We were doing okay, but without any hyperbole, Ninja changed our business and changed our life for the better. So we drank the proverbial Kool-Aid, and we love it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways you can be on this Ninja path. It all really starts with the book, and just to let you guys know how this all started with us and why we are, as he said, drinking the Kool-Aid, is Mike was giving out books a couple years ago, and he didn't give us a book. And I'm like, I want a book. And so I went to him and I said, how come I don't get a book? And he said, oh, you're already doing this. This is very relationship selling. It's very just low-key selling. And so I said, I still want to read it. And so I read it, and I was like, oh, this is how my dad used to sell. My dad was an appliance salesman for Sears for 40 years. And this is exactly how he used to sell. And so at first when I read it, I was like, oh, this will be like shooting fish in a barrel. Like, this is really easy. But it's not really easy. You have to practice it. And that's why we talk about being on the Ninja path and sort of the Ninja practice. So there's a lot of ways you can be on the Ninja path. Number one is the book. There is also a podcast, and there is also coaching. We are in the Ninja coaching program, but I would highly recommend you get on the podcast and listen to the podcast, and you will be able to self-coach that way. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I'll talk about that in a second. Okay, there's also social media. So there's all kinds of Ninja Facebook pages. Just put in Ninja in the search and you'll see all these pages. Join them, learn. The way of the Ninja is to be very cooperative. There is no competitiveness. There is only creativity. And so you will learn so much from these other ninjas. They share so much. And so just, follow those posts, download their real estate reviews, which we'll talk about, but just it's social media and the podcast will get you very far. There's also something called Ninja U. It does cost money, but it doesn't cost as much as coaching. I think it's $20 a month, and you'll have access to all the videos. But there is a Ninja YouTube channel too that's free. So I'm going to talk about installation in a second. It is less about selling and more about how to create value. The reason it's called Ninja Selling is because one of the group sales partners very early on, his name was Jim Dunlap, and he helped develop the system. He was nicknamed the Ninja by the staff because Jimmy D had great sales volume, great customer service, great referrals, yet seemed to still have a life outside of being in the office 24/7. So he had by far the highest income per hour of any salesperson. So Larry Kendall began documenting the sales system used by this guy as the original Ninja, and he began teaching them to the people at his brokerage, and Ninja Selling was the result. So the mission statement of Ninja Selling is to help people increase their income per hour through higher customer satisfaction, referrals, sales systems, communication skills. It's a sales system that gives predictable results. Sales associates know that when they work the system works for them, and they can be on purpose versus on accident. So that last sentence is what converted me, is because I always felt like I was a very on accident realtor. And this made me a very on purpose realtor. So I talked about the Ninja path. These are the 4 principles of Ninja. The mastery, stop selling, start creating value. Your business strategy is focused primarily on the people who know you. And customer centric, it's all about them, not you. So the next step on your ninja path is, like I referenced, we had an installation here a year ago. I don't think we're going to have another one anytime soon that I've heard about, but I would highly encourage everybody to go to an installation. We believe that that's what turned our business around. The first one we went to was in Nashville. Now, the reason that we went outside of our market, don't get me wrong, we loved having it here. It was convenient. We could still run out to our offices on breaks and get stuff done. But the reason that we liked going to a different market, it was like a huge networking event. And there is a huge network of ninjas across the nation that we now refer business to. So I just put some of these up here. Actually, Rob put some of these up here to show how impactful an installation was. Thank you for raising your hand. I want this to be interactive, and I won't be mean to you.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to touch on, Jeff and I had also gone to an out-of-town installation down in Jacksonville, and it was great having the installation here, but there is something to be said for being able to disconnect from running back to your office and having your mind just focused on the conference while you're there, since you spend the money to be there.
Right. So it is money. You know, it does cost money, and it's a 4-day intensive. Like, you are immersed, right? And so it does cost money to go. It does cost money if you go outside of your market. It is very much an investment in yourself that is very much worth it. So we also have gone to ones in Fort Collins, sort of the birthplace of Ninja. In the installation, you're going to learn about the psychology of mindset. Not just your own mindset, but the mindset of buyers, the mindset of sellers. You're going to learn negotiation skills. You're going to learn scripts for clarity. But more important, you're going to learn how to keep in flow with your people and to become an attractor rather than a chaser. And like I said, be on purpose versus on accident. So we're not going to go over all that today. But the 3 things that Ninja focuses on are mindset, skill set, and actions. So the mindset is, you know, that people love to buy, but they hate to be sold. So stop selling and create value. I'm going to briefly focus on mindset because it is the building block of everything. Now, after I talk to you about mindset a little bit, we're going to go into a specific skill set, and we are going to focus on buyers because I think that's what we're all going to be focusing on very soon. And then we're going to end with some actions that you can take to ensure that you know exactly where your business is coming from for the rest of the year and how you can coach your buyers into clarity and accepted offers. And just know that stuff that we talk about here, I'm going to post on Workplace. So I think it'd be great for you all to take notes when Philip gets into the kind of the guts of it. But it's in the book. And we'll post certain things on Workplace. Certain things you're just, you know, you're just gonna get. But most of the stuff we'll post on Workplace. So stop selling, start attracting. And how do you do that? You do that by giving your people something of value. Now, what's valuable? Any information about the market, any information about what's going on in your specific market. But you know, the second building block I think of Ninja is people pay for 2 things. 1, to solve a problem, and 2, to feel good. So in Ninja, we call that solving for pain or solving for pleasure. So we'll talk more about that later. But, you know, solving for pain, we do a lot with seniors. They're having to go into assisted living. That's a painful time, but they have houses to sell. Then we also deal with a lot of first-time home buyers. They just got married, they're having a baby. That's solving for pleasure. So if you get that in your mind that you're always solving for pain, you're always solving for pleasure, then you will know where your business is coming from because you're going to know what your people are going through. Are they going through pain? Or are they going through pleasure? Another way that Ninja keeps you in a positive mindset is to remember the acronym FORD. So F is family, O is occupation, R is recreation, D is dreams. So, in other words, when you start talking to your people, you don't start with, okay, so where are you looking to live and do you have a pre-qualification letter? Right? Although I know that that's how some people sell. However, that's not how you do it. When Philip's going to go through the 10-step buyer process with you, that's not how you start. You start with, so how's the fam? You know, how's work? Oh, how was the soccer game this weekend? Don't y'all have a beach vacation planned? Get them, you know, it's the Ford. You're making a connection. We talk about know, like, trust. You're making that connection through Ford. So we did an exercise. Oh, I'll give a little plug for our workshops that we do here. Philip and I run Ninja workshops on the first and third Wednesdays after Connect. So if y'all want to pop in, feel free. You don't have to have read the book. You don't have to have gone through an installation. And we work on specific skills. The last 2 months of 2023, we did business planning because Ninja has a very specific way of doing business planning. This time we're working on buyers. And so we went over the overview of the 10-step buyer process, and then last week, Philip went deep into the funnel part of it. So yeah, come to that. We're going to do some role playing and some skill practicing in the coming weeks. But we did a really fun exercise last year in our Ninja workshop where your next question is embedded in the person's answer. And so we just kind of sat in a circle and we asked the first person a question, and then the next person had to, based on that person's answer, have to ask the next question. And it was very fun, right, Steve? I think Steve talked about finding a buyer at Waffle House. I can't remember how that went.
Wedding reception.
Wedding reception at Waffle House. Yes, ma'am.
What was
Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. And thanks for asking that, because you know, the dream part doesn't mean like, so what do you want to be when you grow up? It's not that kind of dream. It's like the big vacations, the big, like, you know, sort of the big stuff after the soccer games on Saturday, right? So that's the recreation part of it. But the dream part of it is big vacations or big family whatevers. So yeah. Okay, so remember that. Now, I'm going to finish up about mindset, hand over to him, but your 3 words that you need to remember today, that if you don't remember anything else we talked about, is tell me more. Those are your 3 words. So whenever you're talking to, and I don't care if it's a buyer or a seller, let them talk, and when they pause, you say, tell me more. And that way you'll find out everything you need to know to get that seller where they need to go, or to get that buyer in that dream home. So you are always wanting to tell me more, tell me more, tell me more, and your next tell me more is embedded in what they just told you. Okay, the 5 rules of Ninja. I don't think I printed this out, but I mean, as you can tell, Ninja has a lot of different systems, right? And when you work the system works. So Ninja has, so I talked about the Ford, family, friends, occupation, recreation, dreams. So the 5 rules of Ninja. Number 1, show up. Deliver what you promise. Number 2, pay attention. Listen to your customer. Tell me more. Number 3, tell the truth. Keep your commitments. I mean, these are pretty basic things, but super duper important things. Number 4, create value. And that's where we would get into flow, which we're not going to do today. But that's very, very important, is to create value through a system of art and science. So that's number 4, is create value. And number 5, which is probably the hardest, is don't get attached to the outcome, right? Commit to the process, but the outcome should not define who you are as a ninja. Okay, so I think I'm going to say it again. Oh, number 1, show up. Number 2, pay attention. Number 3, tell the truth and keep your commitments. Number 4, create value. And number 5, don't get attached to the outcome. Okay. I'm going to stay here and interrupt you the whole time.
Welcome to my life. Okay, so Ninja talks a lot about love and fear, and as humans, we often have a fear of being who we were meant to be, and Ninja goes a lot into that in terms of developing the mindset. And they have this poem by Marianne Williamson. I'm not going to read it, but if you're not familiar with it, it is worth the read and really absorbing it in terms of not listening to the fear and being all that you can be. And that doesn't mean going into the Army. Buyers,
It's the buyer's fears.
yes, the buyer's fears are losing out on a property, paying too much, missing something, or if there's something wrong with the house. So going through the process, there is a way to help them feel good about not missing anything, losing out on the property, paying too much, or figuring out if there's anything wrong with it.
We say we want to give those buyers clarity, right? Because confused buyers don't buy, but clear buyers buy, and sometimes will close you. So that's why we want to address these fears. Sorry, I'm interrupting, but this is like a really good point, because before Ninja, I had a lady who was the epitome of fear of missing out. The epitome of it.
Marcy.
I would send her a house and she'd be like, oh my God, this is it. And then she'd be like, well, what if something else pops up tomorrow? Right? Everybody's had those. I showed her 54 houses at Lake Lanier.
The price point was worth it.
The price point was definitely worth it. But she's my pinnacle of fear of missing out. So if I had done the buyer process with her, I would not have shown her 54 houses. So before you go on, I think this is a very good time to show this. So take a gander at this for a couple minutes.
Good morning to everyone in the Ninja Nation. This is Peter Parnig with your Ninja Weekly Action Tip. A couple of weeks ago, we did an action tip entitled Drift Happens. If you saw it, we pointed out the universal human habit of being on a great path towards health or fitness or a ninja real estate business, and then for no understandable reason, we quit doing the very things that were causing our success. And we talked that there are tons of reasons it happens, but drift doesn't really serve us well. Drift is the subject of thousands of self-help articles around what happens to New Year's resolutions in early February. No stranger to the concept. One of the best parts about Ninja is that it is a proven system. We know that it works. We know that it works in all markets and marketplaces. And yet, as we jokingly said before, it's working perfectly. Let's quit doing it. Two of our most powerful processes are our 10-step buyer process and our 16-step seller process. They both work fabulously in all markets. We know that, but a prime example of drift is not using the buyer process in a super hot seller's market. And why wouldn't we use the process? Well, we guess that we think we don't need to. We get caught up in the super fast pace and we skip it. Maybe we aren't really good at the funnel process. Most likely we don't really understand it 100% or don't see why we would use it when there isn't much standing inventory. There are three great reasons to use it every time. First, it demonstrates that you have a process. That creates referrals. Second, it differentiates you, and most importantly, it helps your buyers understand a strategy to deal with this market. It gives them a roadmap. It shows them that you have a plan, which in turn gives them a plan to succeed in this competitive environment. So this week, recommit to the 10-step buyer process if you have drifted. If you need practice, find a ninja in your office and practice it. If you want to review the key elements of it, join Ninja U, if you're already a member, which is our on-demand online resource for all ninja skills. Most importantly, give your buyers a clear understanding of a defined process to help them succeed in this particular market. Thanks again for joining us in the Ninja Nation.
I'm glad he talked about drift because even though...
Sorry.
even though we have been doing Ninja for a while and we're halfway decent at it, we find that we don't always do the process. And two of the greatest words that we have learned in this 4-year journey is begin again. So one of our last transactions in 2023, we didn't do the buyer process with this particular buyer because he was an experienced buyer and the price point, he was rather sophisticated. So he already knew what, he and his wife knew what they wanted, and boom, boom, boom. But we ended up spending probably a little bit more time doing one-offs rather than having a strategic approach to doing that. But we get back on the horse, we learn the process again, and begin again.
Can I interrupt?
No.
Anyway, if you do the process, remember Ninja's philosophy. They want you to make more income per hour. So yes, it was a really good price point. We were going to make a lot of money off of it. We probably did spend too much time. Then I have, my example is I had a little coach from my CrossFit gym want a very small condo. We took him through the buyer 10-step process. I probably showed him three and closed. And when you are really getting analytical about your time, we made more money on a $140,000 condo than we did on a $1.2 million
Per hour.
per hour.
Okay, so again, Ninja has a 10-step buyer process, and they constantly refer to TSW. This system works. So again,
You're so funny.
if you work the system works, and we promise that's true. Okay, so step one is to greet the buyer.
What?
That's crazy, but people will just jump in, and we just need to greet, slow down, and we meet them at a different place, and we're going to do the process. So it's all about energy. So we greet them, say hi, and then we move to a different place, because when they, ideally, you will meet them at a Starbucks or something.
That would be my ideal.
And then you actually do the process somewhere else, but go through the process in one place, because when they show up, they're a little nervous, especially if they're first-time home buyers. So you want to help them relax. So we greet them at a location, and then you do what's called the buyer interview. And believe it or not, it pays to have good old-fashioned paper. So have a folder and have your buyer interview questions. And Ninja has a buyer interview sheet.
I'll put that on Workplace.
Yeah, and
But just taking notes makes them feel like you're paying attention. Like, and I always say, like, I'm going to take notes, so don't get upset if I'm not making eye contact with you all the time. I'm writing down everything. And that usually makes their shoulders relax then and there.
right. And in that buyer process or buyer interview, there are often 3 mistakes. You just talked to one of not taking notes. Another mistake is just launching into the presentation. No, we got to step back, establish rapport through your forward questions, and then you also want to avoid asking the wrong questions. So the questions to ask in addition to forward are what are called foundational questions. And those questions help you ask the next questions, because again, their answer or your next question is embedded in their answer. So some of the foundational questions would be, where are you living now? And if they've owned homes before, how many homes have you owned? Where? How did that process go? What did you learn? What did you like about it? So again, you're asking foundational questions. And then lastly, you ask, are you familiar with how real estate works here? Because people are moving here all the time. They may not know that.
Or they might not have bought in 30 years, right? So we always start with, we're probably telling you things you already know. So that way they feel like, and then we go on to say, but we're going to tell you a little bit about the forms and what you need to look for. And that way they don't feel like there's any dumb questions, like we're assuming you already know this, but we're going to go ahead and tell you anyway. So.
Yeah, and then you'll hand them a buyer's packet, and in that will be your resume, if you will. We always include an example of a purchase and sale agreement, some of the exhibits, blank, filled out, buyer's agency agreement, things of that nature, a map of where they're looking for school information, things of that nature. It is not one size fits all. You can adjust and adapt your folder to, or buyer packet to be whatever you want it to be. And then next is step 5 is kind of a hidden gem, if you will. It's called the funnel process.
What was 3?
Pardon?
What was step 3?
Step 3 is the buyer interview.
To bring your file with the buyer interview. So number 1 is greet them. Number 2 is try to do it at a different location. Have we done it at the first house we're going to show them? Yes. We don't enjoy doing it that way. We like to meet them, either go to where they are, have them come here, meet at a Starbucks. But we have done them at the house, the first house, because we usually have a freebie, BTW. Even if they don't have a pre-qualification letter or whatever, we'll usually give one freebie showing. So we have done them at houses, but we don't like to. So greet, location. 3 is file. So your file.
Or buyer interview.
Buyer interview, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then number 4 is the forms that you're showing them. And your resume, all that stuff. What you have in the file besides taking notes. So then number 5 is?
5 is the funnel process. And again, buyers have a fear of missing out or paying too much. So what you want to do is have a blank piece of paper and physically draw a funnel. And Steve provides art lessons for free and helping do the shading and all of that.
My funnel looks like a martini glass, but it's fine.
Yeah, and the conversation basically says, John or Jane, we are going to make sure that we don't miss anything, and we've got a process to help you do that. So in addition to anything that they may have found, you want to ask them about it. If it's 123 Elm Street, put it in there. 567 Main Street, put it in there. At the same time, ask them what about those homes attracted them, because those are going to be their motivating factors or what they're looking for in a home. So, and then let them know, there's a video on Ninja that better illustrates this. Peter Parnag does a really nice job of it. But as you are talking about what you're going to put in the funnel, write it down. Like, we're going to put FSBOs in there. We're going to put Zillow in there. We're going to put
MLS,
foreclosures,
new construction.
MLS. So basically, we're throwing everything in there. So we're potentially considering thousands and thousands of homes, and then
And that's addressing their fear of missing out.
yeah,
Because they're like, oh, they're not going to miss anything. They're throwing everything in the martini funnel.
And so then, anyway, as we are using the process of elimination, not selection, but elimination, the funnel is going to spit out what is going to be their rolling top 5 homes or so. And at that point, you ask them to go by, take a look at them, if you can. It may not have the luxury of time, so that's what you want to look at. And then, obviously, as you go look at them, you'll be eliminating and figuring out which ones they want to use.
Those rolling top ones.
And let them know at that point you'll do a CMA on the ones that they're interested in, because I'm meeting a buyer today, and I've sort of done the buyer process with him, not completely. Again, we don't do it perfectly, but he wanted to know what I thought of the value of the neighborhood of the home. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to do a ton of research until I know if you like the house. So, so anyway, the funnel process is really worth diving into and knowing what they like. But again, it's going to spit out the ones that they want. And then you ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, let's just pretend and go play. Just for fun, what would have to happen for you to make an offer on this house? If they're saying, I don't know, I need to think about it, they're confused. They don't have clarity. So you ask them or tell them, tell me more. You listen, you write down Is there anything else? They'll tell you, write it down, tell me more.
This is all at your first meeting. Like you're figuring out all this stuff at your first meeting, right? So a lot of times Ninja will say, if you could wave a magic wand, right? So then you're getting into the emotional part of their brain about like, oh, if I could wave a magic wand, my dream home would be, and then you're writing that down because you're going to find them their dream home. But the scale of 1 to 10 makes them, I mean, all these exercises are to make them think as opposed to, I just want a home in the Centennial High School District. Well, okay, let's go deeper. Tell me more, right? And so all this is mindset. All this is psychology to make them think. So the scale of 1 to 10, and then the wave the magic wand. So the scale of 1 to 10 is number 6 on your 10-step buyer process. And then number 7
is the piece of paper exercise. And this is where you give the buyer or couple, if there's more than one, a blank piece of paper and say, list everything that you want in a home. And then after you made your list, put a star beside the 3 things that are most important to you. And then you ask them, is there anything that would be a knockout factor? Something that was just like, oh my God, I've got to have it. It's a non-negotiable.
like that. If I didn't have a fenced-in backyard, it would be a deal breaker. That type of thing.
Yeah. So from that was number 7. We go into number 8, and that is the features and benefits. So remember, buyers are not buying the features. They are buying what that feature provides, the benefit. So they buy.
What do you want? Why do you want it?
Right.
So they want a fenced-in backyard. Why? Oh, because I have a 120-pound lab, right? So it's not just I need 5 bedrooms. Why? Well, because I have 3 kids and I need a guest room and I need, So then you're like, oh, well, okay, so maybe I could show you a 4-bedroom with a loft, right? Like, so you're getting not just the what's, you're getting the whys, because that will help you find the right house as opposed to just, I want a house with a basement. Why? If I could, well, I need some place for my kids to go. Okay, well, if I could find you a house with a media room off to, that type of thing.
So then we go to number 9, and much to the chagrin of the tech guy from North Point, we don't ask about financing until this step. We wait until we're in a rhythm with the buyer. And because, again, we don't want to put their defenses up right away. And by now, we're into a rhythm with them. And we ask them, are you going to pay cash or will you be getting a loan? And most people are going to be getting a loan. So then we ask them, if you have talked with a lender, would you like to talk with our preferred lenders at North Point? And they'll say, yes, of course.
But it is really important to say, are you paying cash or will you be getting a loan? Because you're not saying like, oh, I assume you're going to get financing because you broke, right? Like you don't assume anything, right? Like you're always like, oh, so are you paying cash or that type of thing. So you're still keeping the power over with them, and all you're doing is answering questions. Yes, ma'am.
It's more of a comment
Yeah.
on that. When you ask that financing question in the last position after they've already solidified and have clarity about what they want, now you have the opportunity to have that conversation. Is it realistic? Or do you have to increase your budget, decrease, whatever?
Perfect point. I feel like that HGTV show, which is like, let me show you the house that will meet all your needs. Here it is. It's 1.2 million. Now, you can only afford 400,000. So let me show you a house for 400,000 and what we can do to make it look like 1.2 million. So perfect point. Right. You're kind of bringing them back down to earth, but it's a great point. So it's like, okay, if you haven't gotten pre-approved, we're going to get you pre-approved. If you have gotten pre-approved, we're going to go back to those what's and whys, right? Great point.
Let's see, and then we will be talking about the MLS search, viewing online and driving by, et cetera, et cetera. And then number 10 is, when we find that home, what will you do? And then there's a discussion about cream puff houses. Cream puff houses are the ones that are perfect in every way, but you know what? They're perfect in every way for 7 other buyers as well. So what are you going to do to be able to get the the house under contract. We discuss purchasing strategies, et cetera, et cetera.
We
I
go
know
over.
You're waiting to say something.
Well, never. Yes, when we find it, what will you do? And they'll be like, oh my God, I'm going to put an offer on it. Okay, well, let us tell you about the 5 negotiating points, right? So that's when we come out with hopefully this, nope, hopefully that. So this is a really good worksheet that we never use. So I was like, oh my God, I love this. Let me put it up again. So, the 5 negotiating points are price, terms, dates, closing, possession, etc., inclusions, exclusions, and contingencies. Those are your 5 negotiating points. So this is a really fun workbook that you all should use, and I'll put it on Workplace, and I should use, which is, let's go through. What kind of price would you like to, I'm going to go a little off script here. Philip and I use a script called the old shit or old damn price, and that is, if the house is priced at $600,000 and you want to offer $650,000, and you find out that somebody got the house for $655,000, will you say, well, shit, I could have done that? Or if you find out, if you want to go to $650,000 and somebody got the house at $655,000, do you say, damn, they can have it? So you have to figure out what your old shit or old damn number is. Okay, so that's my ninja script, ours. So anyway, that's the price. Like, what's your price? Are you willing to go above of that? Like, what's your old shit or old damn, right? And then inspections, where that one where it says, I won't do an inspection, I do not recommend that.
Not at all.
We had a client recently who said, I don't want to do an inspection. I'm like, not on my watch. You're doing an inspection. So blah, blah, blah. Have a big discussion about inspection. So these are all the things that you can have discussions about right there, when you're doing the negotiating. Okay?
Yeah, and the other thing about having pieces of paper and doing things like that in front of them is the adage that showing is better than telling. So they can see the process in action, and when you are working with them together at the same time, they also view it as a collaboration, a partnership, and again, showing is better than telling.
And there's another thing that Ninja says, that it matters who says it. So we'll go back to where the buyer, when we're telling you that doing this will make the buyer have clarity, they will close you. They will say, oh, this is what we're going to do to get this house. They will close, you won't have to tell them. But so by doing this, by following the 10-step process, the buyer objections are greatly reduced because they've got clarity. They feel more confident. They have less fear because we've gone through a process. We know that there's a process, so they're not as scared. They're more focused because we've funneled them into being focused. There's less variables, and they are in what's called a balanced brain decision making, right? Like, we're dealing with different types of personalities. But if we get them into this mode of the process and the funnel and all that, they get into a very balanced brain, and so they're in decision making mode. They have the green light to move forward. So when buyers say to you that they want to think about it, they're either afraid or confused or both. So it's fine to, if you've got a buyer that you have not done this with, it's fine to do a reset. We have done this many times. We'll be like, oh, we've shown you 17 houses and you haven't figured out, we're going to do a reset. So let's come back to Starbucks and we're going to do a reset and go through it all again. It's fine to get them more balanced. So don't feel like if you haven't done it, you can't do it. You can do it. One thing Ninja says is, do keep this in this order. Like, don't jump around and do 1 and then do 7 and then come back to 3, because it's a building block to get to that 10th step. So that's pretty important. One thing I wanted to touch on, not to go too deep into it, but they do have a process for showing property, and it's very interesting and it's very psychology based about they say to show the best one first. So if you've got 6 properties, you're going to show them, even if it's out of order, they say to show them the best one first, because then they're comparing everything to that one. They also say to park across the street. Don't park in the driveway. Don't park in front of the house. Park across the street so they have a big view of the house and the driveway and everything. Watch their eyes and pay attention to what they're paying attention to. and start to ask the soft questions. Like, could you see yourself? Where would you put the? Now, most of the time they're going to do that. They're going to be like, oh my God, I could put my desk here, and then, if they really like it, right? So the desire stage, they call it, which is doing the dance, is if they want to go through the home more than once. Then you know that this could be their cream puff, right? If they sit down, if they start talking about where they're going to put stuff. So just remember that. Now, the soft close is the low risk question that really requires just a low drama decision. So, we do a lot of soft closes before we do a hard close, right? But again, the Ninja has a system for this, which is sort of a worksheet that tells them, if you would wave your magic wand, when would you want that to be? If you did, So those are the soft close questions. I mean, again, they're probably going to close you. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm going to get you all out of here probably early. Okay, so that's the 10-step buyer process. Yes, there's a 16-step seller process. I mean, this book is thick, but we just decided to go through buyers today. There's 2 more things I want to talk about, and I've touched on it. Pain and pleasure. When you go through your sphere, when you go through Facebook, when you're looking at your people, think about their pain and pleasure. There is a form that I will put on Workplace. A lot of you already have it. I might have already put it on Workplace, but I'll put it up again. And it's called the tick list. I think there's 16 questions, 16 things.
We added a half.
We added a half. So what this means is, this is your secret weapon for knowing where your business is going to come from. Do I have anything else? I did that. Oh, you can talk about that. Okay. But this goes into pain or pleasure. Okay. 15 or 16, I can't remember. Let's say 16. We call it a tick list. So get out your database or your top 20 in your database. Read out the name, go through the tick list. The tick list is, are they having a baby? Are they getting a divorce? Do they have teenagers? Is their job moving?
Do they have children under 10?
Do they have children under 10?
So you can talk to them about investment properties.
Right. I can't remember them all. I don't know if you can, Bill, but there's 16 of them. We added a half after the pandemic. Can they work remote? That wasn't in there. If you go through this 16 tick list and you've got your, let's say 20 names in front of you, like your top 20 out of your database, and you start putting a tick, tick, tick beside their name, if you get to 4 or 5 ticks beside of somebody's name, they go in your reticular activation system that they are going to buy or sell soon. They may not know they're going to buy or sell, but they have enough life changes, aka pain or pleasure, that they will be looking for real estate before somebody who only has 1 tick beside their name. So that means all of a sudden you can put them on, we call it our warm list, that they may not know they want to buy or sell, or they may not know they want to move, but they've got some major pain or pleasure happening. And so you start focusing on them, and what you focus on expands. So that's where I'll put that tick list up. And there's another form in Ninja about how to build a database. I think everybody in here probably has a pretty robust database. So just go into your database, pull your A people, your raving fans, then go through them. Then pull your B people. We try to do 10, 20 at a time and just keep them on the tick list, okay? And like I said, all this will go on Workplace.
The importance of this is, again, they may not know that they're buying or selling, but it helps relax your shoulders knowing that in a year or even 2 years, you know that you're going to have some business coming in. So it's building the pipeline.
It's building your pipeline.
And being able to ramp up your communication so that you are top of mind with them when they are ready. I mean, who else are they going to call?
Getting in flow. And if you don't have a robust database, go to your social media. Start looking at people on your social media for pain or pleasure, because that's where people go to discuss pain or pleasure, is on your social media. So to that end, I'm sorry, Rob, we did an end of year recap for our people.
Okay, so Ninja talks about flow, and the ideal level of communication is 3 times a month, according to Ninja. That would be 2 direct mail pieces and 1 email newsletter. So we use iExact as our database, and each month I personalize it so it's not as dry. And you may not know it, but I'm kind of funny, and I write much better than I speak. And anyway, so I will do a newsletter, and of course it eventually gets down to real estate information, but it personalizes us so that we're not just some random people trying to sell real estate. And then twice a month we do a postcard, and we use a company out of California called Vertical Printing, and they're really, relatively speaking, inexpensive in doing postcards.
And they're very familiar with Ninja.
Yeah, so we do an oversized postcard, and each month we normally do our listings coming soon, just sold, under contract, whatever.
We usually do 6.
They're usually 6, thank you.
Sorry.
And anyway, for this one, for January, we did a recap of what all we did in 23, and then we talked about how we help people through life changes. So we had 5 families go through a marriage, engagement, divorce, or have babies. We had 5 families with job changes, or meaning transfers or loss or promotions, whatever. And then we had the ultimate life change. A couple people died. And something surreal, I did a listing presentation last Sunday. The guy's on his hospice deathbed. He's going to be dead in a couple of weeks, but his wife is ready to move forward as soon as he goes. Obviously, with his blessing, he was there and participated somewhat. That was strange, but it was so nice to know that we are able to help them through a very traumatic, meaningful life event. So this shit ain't just selling homes. It's about helping people. Mm-hmm. And I am so damn happy to be in this career. But anyway, and then we helped first-time home buyers, and it was really touching because one of them, it was a woman who was coming out of a domestic abuse situation, and she had been living in someone's basement. And when Leanne showed her this little condo, townhome, she was so impressed that it had a dishwasher. And knowing that she was able to get a house and establish some equity with a little bit of sweat and tears, oh my God, that was so meaningful to us. And then we helped a first-time home buyer. The father was an immigrant, barely spoke English. In fact, spoke no English, but his daughter was a vet, or is a vet, serving in the National Guard right now. So we helped this family achieve the American dream. So anyway, we just did a recap of what real estate means, and that's helping people. And I'm going somewhere with this, but the other...
Well, it's the pain and pleasure.
Yeah.
It's the pain and pleasure, and it's that we're not sitting here saying, oh, we're like number 1 in this or number 2 in this or whatever. We're not talking about that. We're just talking about people we helped, families we helped. So on our hot and warm list, we don't put transactions, we put families. So we think of them as families no matter what. We don't talk about transactions, we don't talk about dollar amount, we just talk about helping people. And that's what Ninja's about. It's just about helping people relax their shoulders during a time of pain, or helping people celebrate during a time of pleasure. And that's what this career is about to us, and that's what Ninja has done for us, is focused us on how to help people. So we hope that we've helped y'all today, and I will post things to Workplace, and if you have any questions, you can let me know. And it's 11:27.
Yeah, we got 4 minutes.
Oh,
First of all, please give it up for some of the Realty.
yay!
This
Oh, yeah.
graphic that you're looking at